quoting them. It's in quotes.
Yeah.
It's in quotation.
So it says 1, to restore financial viability and then liquidity. 2, to cover increasing operational costs driven by inflation.
Okay, so ECG says that the operational costs are going high. And why is the operational cost going high? The 3 reasons.
Foreign exchange volatility and then interest rates is the reason why they want to, increase, so that can cover that cost.
You see,
and then the third,
go.
The third one, it says to fund necessary investments in the distribution network and ensure reliable power supply.
ECG is a hypocritical institution. The reason accounting for their cost, they didn't talk about their own inefficiencies. You see how convenient it is. They are talking about the parameters of the economy, not their own efficiencies. They are silent on that. You are given a budget of 144. You go and spend 333. Joe, give us the chart back if I'm misquoting them. Then when you are talking about why operations are not operating, the first issue is that you are talking about the parameters. I'm not saying that those parameters shouldn't be discussed. They are very important to the discussion. But how do you fetch water into a bucket?
Basket.
A basket, sorry. Even if it's a tanker full of water, it will still gush out because you've not fixed the issue. And David, that's what I've always talked about. You see, the last time Leo and I went to the ASF meeting
at KNUST.
That was the day I since I came back for that meeting, I've always told that ECG is the problem.
Yeah, clearly.
This year, we are spending almost 30 billion in the energy sector. And you ask yourself, even David, let's even add the containers that the issue became topical in this country.
Well, it got missing from the hub.
We will later learn that some of the things even in the container, ECG didn't need them.
Yeah, true.
But they import in excess. And I wish I can get for you Afenomakin's audio on ECG himself. I'm trying to work to get that audio for you. When in Parliament, he admitted that when he went to ECG, he himself was shocked at the kind of things he saw. And this is Afenomakin.
Yeah.
So then it tells you that it's a systemic issue.
Yeah.
When you and I were on the tactical board issue, we read the report where the Auditor General said that the NSS app had issues, but it was what? Fit for purpose. But they deliberately bypassed the system, manipulated the system. Now, before we came on, Leo raised a very important point. How will give you a worry? How will ECG know that they can do this and not go scot-free? Public servants. David, listen to Honorable Atamos properly. He said that, and you spend this even without the what? The board approval. In a proper organogram, Juniangra cannot sit in office and decide expenditure. It is coming from multimedia's ESCO.
And he will not go beyond the budget.
So you ask yourself, how will an ECG MD have the boldness to overspend his budget by 180 million cedis because he knows that
Now, before you go on, Leo, again, search for me. Aside from this ECG thing, you search for me. Search for me what Randy Abbey said at the cocoa board, that we import cocoa sacks that we don't even need, sacks that we have imported, we have not used, and yet we are importing more in the figures. So search for that for me.
David,
in fact, go ahead.
But you see, God always shines on us. Leo, get to the WhatsApp console. This is what after and I told you I went to July 22. I'm not exaggerating, I'm only giving facts. It's like Ben came in 2024. It's Mr. Boateng who were here. Dubik was the MD. The people who were there we must have a forum where they could listen to Afenomakin what he said about ECG when he went there in July 22, and that was around the same time. And even in the ECG container saga, you remember that the procurement was done by the manager for estate. ECG as a body, per the report, didn't have a procurement, according to John Jinapo, the current energy minister. ECG didn't have a procurement. How conscionable is this? That ECG, the ECG as an entity, they are going into a procurement to buy 50 in excess of what, 100 containers or so. ECG is the one who is in charge of estate. And in fact, the former procurement guy, when they went to the Ghana Association of Procurement, they remember the report. The guy that didn't have the right or qualification to be a procurement director.
To be in our office. To be in our office, yeah.
ECG. I had the privilege of chairing the board in July. Because I'm a businessman, the first question I ask myself is that how can ECG award a contract? And when the contract is awarded, all the person does is deliver at the port, present bill of lading, and request for payment. I said, with the greatest respect, I don't want to use a word. This is Parliament. I was shattered. I said, how? And ECG would have to pay. So I realized that ECG was paying a lot of bills when they have not even had access to the goods. And when you ask them, ECG, I had the privilege of chairing the board in July. Because I'm a businessman, the first question I ask myself is that how can ECG award a contract? And when the contract is awarded, all the person does is deliver at the port, present bill of lading, and request for payment. I said, with the greatest respect, I don't want to use a word. This is Parliament. I was shattered. I said, how? And ECG would have to pay. So I realized that ECG was paying a lot of bills when they have not even had access to the goods. And when you ask them, I asked the procurement manager, director of procurement, a question. I said, why did he say, oh, Chairman, this is the practice since. This is the practice. And they will bring you document. I listened to honorable member for Secondary, lawyer, you from Secondary, question meeting, and I am adopting his submissions as though they were mine. The time has come. This politics, somebody says MPP, NDC, it's a system problem that I will any day support this minister to embark on reforms. How come containers at the ports, containers that have arrived, the bureaucracy at our ports, they say the containers are missing. Mr. Speaker, it is true that when these containers come, there is some
ECG kasa nkrofo nkoto niam amre wo ma nkrofo ne ya ne se omde niam ne be du porter na omagesi ho na omde paper ko ECG so ye de aba na watu aka enti ECG wo niam egu porter omu nko yiye ba nipa na ode niam ba ne tua ne ka enti niam na kura ECG ankasa we wo port no mu nima no ebi wo warehouse a omu nima no na David. Oh, Rane, and you see, we are doing
some of the contents at the warehouse ends up in people's factories and.
Oh yeah, but we also and the fact that it even stays there, the more Rebecca.
Yeah.
And then exactly. Oh, if
the more Rebecca,
there was about 15 minutes because of your time. Afenyomakin quoted the amount of demurrage ECG had to pay. Yeah. So David, when you sit here, it's not as if we are against ECG. I have done some work for ECG before. I have friends at ECG, but you see, when you are discussing the country Ghana. We must not put our emotions and self-serving interests at the front burner.
So, Eugene, it's very clear that these things are done by inside cartels.
Exactly.
How do we deal with that? Because we are always blaming the
figureheads or even the politicians.
Yeah, but truly, I was saying
about who's supposed to ensure change?
Yeah, like I know the systems are already there, so if you go through that route, we can easily trace it. But I'm saying, what do we have to do?
When Afenyomakin, forgive me. When Afenyomakin in that sound you played a while ago, talks about the fact that the Kwesimin team, MP says we need reforms. Between that time and now, what has changed?
Exactly, nothing has changed.
What reform have they raised to help improve the system? The ECG man says that, CEO for ECG now says, they've put in some measures to ensure that these overspendings do not happen. But the reforms that we need.
Yeah.
What action has been taken upon that reform? Read that story that I asked you to look for me. I mean, the cocoa boss and the bags, sacks they buy that they don't need.
So this is about the scandal which involved the importation of and then some disappearance of some cocoa sacks. So in May 2025, Dr. Randy Abe revealed that approximately 200 containers of imported cocoa juice sacks, or the bell-up sacks as others call it, and agrochemicals had gone missing from the ports. Investigations says the National Investigations Bureau they did look into the matter, and the missing bags represented a significant loss, and it created a major liability for Cocoa Board, as bills of lading for the containers had already been submitted to the company, which amounted to millions, but they couldn't find where the sacks are.
And the saddest bit, they keep importing these sacks. It doesn't get to people who would need them to work with. They don't use the sacks, and they keep buying the sacks.
So my understanding is these sacks, they are reusable of a sort, right? So when you use it now, at least it can stay in the system for about 3 or 4 times before it becomes,
obsolete, not obsolete, overused or something.
Overused. So what will be the sense of,
to keep importing them
for what?
At huge sums of money.
The sense is procurement benefit.
Exactly.
So David, you see.
Oh, Charlie.
But wait, do you remember what the former Ashanti Regional Minister told you about when you go to the office? People there will, okay. And I was over.
And I'm muting my money. But many don't call it.
David, beyond the people, let me give you a clear example.
Hey.
This week I'm working on a certain project for some people, and they sent approximately $6,440. I discussed with Leo, saw me on the call. I can show you my mails. I bank with Access Bank. I'm a Macomb branch. David, between the time the person did the transaction, it had delayed. You know what the bank told me subsequently after mails? And David, for you to send mails to a bank tells you that I nearly called my lawyers. You know what they told me? That because the transaction is more than 5,000, they have flagged it. So my bank relationship had to call me to give him some document for some forms. Okukusuku was here when everything was happening. And I told them that they don't release my money. I'll come on there and do this. I'm just saying for that, David. Now, David, listen, 5,000 is roughly 60,000.
Not a lot.
They flagged it. So the question therein is that, David, how do all these monies,
millions,
from the National Service Authority scandals, from the buffer stock scandals, to these ones,
for national security, everything, the national
all these
security,
things,
the signals bureau, how do these monies go through the system such that, David, our banking system is not able to trace it? So one side being the public servant who makes sure the system is lax, is also the banking sector. How are these people able to, David, transfer money, free money through the system, and there's no alert? But David, you the commoner, I wouldn't have been sending $200 a week in your form. The third question for me is that, David, is the Ghana Audit Service not ashamed? David, the last time I asked on Facebook, because I've not worked in the public sector for them to, they said that every state institution has a audit unit. But what I found ridiculous was that when they do the audit, they send the very audit to the man at the hem of the
one they were auditing everything.
Then it goes through the board before even the auditor general comes in and all that. David, so don't they have integrity? Because, David, these expenditures happen in 1 year. 2023.
2023.
So within that year, the internal auditors at ECG, don't they do audits? If they did the audit, what did they tell the auditor general? What did they tell the management there? Because, David, you see, the pack is good. The angriness or you went to Montessori, give me English. The aggressiveness of the chairman, the chairwoman, or the chairperson and these guys are good. But, David, it sounds to me as reactionary. And I believe there's a law that will be where I believe that. The third reason is I'm still on the editors. Why don't our auditing become proactive, such that it foresees some of these things, that you are not able to do the expenditure before we come and audit you? But even before you incur the expenditure, there must be a system to track. Go, David. One day, so why don't we block it from the source before we even do that? The final one for me, David, is this: Chief of Staff, no, saying. Because, David, how is it possible that all these things happen, then the government of the day, because I don't remember every chief of staff or president directly saying that ECG, we want do something.
I've seen something going on here, so make sure that
David, because today we are talking about oral and ECG or recover loot is also because this may not be loot, but this may be misappropriations or malfeasance, right? Because they like big English, they romanticize criminality and make sugarcoat them. David, don't president get report? Because David, this report, the losses I was quoting for profit loss, it's a PURC. Don't they report to cabinet?
And also, for ECG, they have a minister.
Exactly.
They have a minister, substantive minister.
They even have it. They have PURC. They have the minister. When the NDC came, ask anybody, the cash water for mechanism, they are following it. And the MPP, they couldn't follow. Why couldn't it happen? That's my worry. Because David, I say, ubet me a D.
Because for a minister of state, for an institution like energy, whatever,
he's a cabinet minister.
Exactly. So when these things are happening, if even the losses we talk about, as a minister of state, what are we doing? What have been done from till now to ensure that these losses are kept? Yeah. Because the more the losses come, the more it affects all of us. The more we're wasting money in trying to whatever. So let's find ways and means of keeping it. We don't do it, and then somebody's sitting here somewhere. A friend of mine wanted to get a meter, and then he applied for the meter. In fact, when he got to one of the ECG's office, somebody quoted a figure of above 3,000 cedis. So don't mention. I mean, don't do this. Let me put it generously. They mentioned over 3,000, and they will tell you that they have said normal will cost this, a protocol whatever will cost this. This will cost that. So we go through a different channel. As we speak, the person paid less than 950 cedis. 950 cedis. So ECG Nakasa, there's a lot of rot there. What service are they rendering to the Ghanaian? And then we come and then we wake up and we hear these expenditures that you travel out of the country and you spend so much. It is painful, it's hurting. Listen, Ghanaians would like to activate the phone lines on this matter. And which of the things you want to talk about? I even made Leo read the Cocoa Sack saga.